The Canon EOS 2000D is an entry-level camera, but is it any good? Well, it kinda sucks. What's going on, guys? Gary Aman here, back at it again with a new video. Hope everybody's feeling safe and is fine. Right now here in the Netherlands it's like 34 degrees Celsius, so I am sweating really quite hard this right now, filming in the evening actually still, but it's very hot, so you might see me sweating during this video. But anyways, I want to share my experience with this little guy, the Canon EOS 2000D, because I think there are a lot of photographers, a lot of people actually out there that want to upgrade from their smartphone photography to a real camera. So they might come across the Canon EOS 2000D thinking that this might be a great camera, but is it actually? It has its good points and bad stuff, so let's talk about the specs first. The Canon EOS 2000D has an APS-C camera, 24.1 megapixels, 9 AF points or autofocus points, and if you want to do video it can do 1080p up to 30 frames per second, and also a little bit of slow motion in 720p 60 frames per second. So not a whole lot of like beautiful specs or things that really explodes your mind. That's not mind-blowing and stuff, but then again, this is an entry-level camera, so don't expect too much out of it. What do we have on the outside? So now I got here the body with the kit lens, and it doesn't have really that much on the outside. At the top level we got just the mode dial switch. At the back we got the little screen that is not touchscreen. It's not tilting anything, or it's just flat, and actually the resolution is not that high as much. So talking about quality wise from a smartphone, which is a lot better than what you see in this screen. The screen is not that great. The optical viewfinder, it's pretty much basic. It's just a looking glass. On this little left side compartment, like a little door, we got the HDMI out. It's a mini HDMI, then a little old school USB type of input, and then a little input for your timer or remote. And at the bottom we got the battery compartment and the SD card slot. Actually the battery life of this little guy is quite good, and after like a week or so of using it I still didn't need to charge my battery, because I took some photos. I didn't take it for the whole day, but just in several days all across the week, using this camera whenever I needed to, and I didn't, and the battery life was really great. So that's a good thing of this camera, the battery life. And the grip itself feels really good. The switches and everything, it feels very solid, no like really squishy or anything. On the outside, how it looks, it's very plasticky. It's not like pro grade or anything. It's not weather sealed whatsoever. It has a little built-in flash that pops up like so. Yeah, if you want to blind people with your flash, then this is definitely the way to go. But if you don't want to use flash, you can just drop it down like this. I only recommend using this flash if you really need to, or if you are willing to have this kind of different look. So that's about it for the specs and the outside. The body feels really good in the hand. Nice small compact camera, including the kit lens. It's very lightweight and you can carry it for the whole day without any issues. The price of this here in the Netherlands, it cost me 295 euros, so that's a great deal. Even in the US it will cost you around 300 bucks or so, so that's very affordable for a lot of people to go into a real camera. So the most important question that you can have with this camera is, can it produce some nice images, right? This is the reason for why people want to step up from their smartphone photography into a real camera. The answer to that is yes, it can really produce some great quality images. What I did is some landscape, portraits, cityscapes, and just all-round lifestyle stuff, even product photography. And here are the results. Let's start first with portraits. Here is a little portrait of my wife, and as you see, it can really produce some nice images. This is just natural light, no flash whatsoever. Looking very good, right? some landscape. I'm not a landscape photographer, so to me it's quite challenging. As you see here, a little bit of city landscape, the city of Rotterdam in this case, and as you see, it actually looks really good. It was actually quite late in the evening, around 9 o'clock or so it was getting quite dark and quite like moody. I really like how the images are looking. Landscape as well. I'm not a landscape photographer, but here are some example footage or example pictures. It looks quite good. What do we got more? Some lifestyle pictures, just daily stuff with my family, you know, kids and wife and stuff. Looks pretty good. And also for product photography, here are also some examples. It looks really good, right? I think this can produce some great images. So in terms of image quality, I think because of that sensor, it can produce some good images. The overall dynamic range, so let's say you want to correct your exposure, and let's say you underexpose your image, meaning things are a little bit too dark, you messed up your settings a little bit. Can you then lift the exposure up a little bit? Yes, it's possible. It's not as good as any pro level graded stuff, but still very good, very capable of solving your issues. And now here is the bad stuff, and that is the performance. With that I mean the autofocus performance. The best way I can tell you is by sharing you or showing you actually what it feels like with autofocusing on a subject. So here is a little clip. As you see right here, I am looking into the optical viewfinder, and as you see, it just you cannot see what you're focusing on. It reminds me of using a film camera, almost like manual focusing. So in terms of using your optical viewfinder and checking if your focus is correctly, especially for moving objects, it's very difficult. So keep that in mind. If you are a beginner, you will have quite a long or quite a steep learning curve. But I think if you are very used to this camera, then you can definitely use the optical viewfinder to your best use. Is that the way to put it? You know, if this is the only camera you have for many years, then you will be great with the optical viewfinder. But you can also put it in live view mode, meaning that you can use your screen as your viewfinder and you can see your exposure directly. So with that in mind, if you're using that, you can actually track a little bit of your subject, but it is not that good as like a mirrorless camera. Here is the example footage. What I mean by that is that you see that it will follow your subject. It tracks it, but it doesn't lock on it. So if you take a photo of that certain point and then you move the subject away, or that subject is moving, then it needs to refocus on that point. So for moving objects, this is really a bad performer. It doesn't perform. It's just too slow. So if you do a lot of fast moving projects or fast moving objects, this is not your camera. Definitely not your camera. But if you are using this for still life objects or for portraits, for people that don't move too much, then this is actually quite an okay focusing camera. But still, even though when you think you are in focus, you're not for sure if you are in focus. A lot of my pictures that you don't see or that you are seeing right now are actually slightly out of focus. And that's actually quite frustrating, to seeing that your photos are not in focus, even when you thought it's in focus, because you're looking to the optical viewfinder, you're thinking like, all right, it's good, you can see it, right? It's in focus. But then when you go back to your computer and you're looking at the photos and you be like, I'm not in focus at all. You totally missed it. And that's the biggest disadvantage or the biggest negative point of this camera, is that you are not certainly, or you're not 100% sure that you are in focus. A lot of photos that I took, and I think especially for beginners that are upgrading from a smartphone to this camera, they will notice as well, like, oh, why are my images not in focus? So they're checking the settings, they're going to look up in YouTube why this and that. It doesn't matter even if you have the best settings, somehow in autofocusing this camera doesn't perform that well. you're not sure what you're autofocusing on. I also have a little comparison. I took out my Sony A6000, which is a camera that was released in 2015 or 14 even, so a very old camera, and that camera is a mirrorless camera that can still like follow your subject that is moving, and it doesn't have to recompose every time or refocus every time. It just follows the subject and just take the picture and keep it in focus. Also, quality wise, images on the left here, the Sony, on the right side this Canon, you know, both are actually quite good. Colors are a little bit different, but shoot in RAW and you can just tweak them and have the same thing. So image quality wise, the Canon EOS 2000D, it can give you some great images, but get to those great images you really have to work for it. Filming stuff with this camera, the quality of the 1080p is not good. I didn't really like how it looks, especially with this kit lens. It just looks very like it looks very dated. You can use it for filming stuff, but it's not that nice. The quality is not that nice. Yeah, so in overall, do I really recommend this camera for beginners? No, I don't recommend this camera. I really don't recommend this, because I think if you let's say you are having now a smartphone that can take some good pictures, and then you're going to switch to this camera, you will have a bad time with this camera. You will see that most of your pictures will not be in focus. You will see that the overall enjoyment of using this camera is not as you expected, maybe, you know, because you will see that it will focus very slowly, and you will notice that the images will not be in focus, all those stuff. But yeah, if you are willing to learn and go through it, then you will notice that this is actually quite a bad camera in terms of its performance. But when you do hit the performance, or when you do get a nice picture, even in low light conditions, as you see right here, you know, if your objects are very still, if you got the time, then you can produce some nice images with this camera. For all other things, this camera is not the way to go. I'd rather spend my money on a different camera, maybe even the Sony A6000, then you will actually enjoy a little bit more with the results. I think that's the best way to put it. So to conclude, is it possible to create great images with this camera? The answer is yes, but does it perform really good that I would recommend it to others? I would say no, because the performance is just really bad. So yeah, that's all actually, guys. That's all. Thank you again for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of these reviews. If you got any questions, just share a comment down below. If you got any questions about this camera, about settings whatsoever, let me know, then maybe I can help you out. Or if you got any suggestions that I should check, let me know as well. Yeah, that's all, guys. I think I've covered everything. So don't buy this camera. Like, don't buy it. You will have a bad time. That's all. Thank you again. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next one. Good luck.